Hi, in this video I want to go a little bit deeper into pursuing a career in art. I want to go over how to approach galleries and just some other steps you can take to give you a little bit of a head start. This video continues from the previous videos, so if you're just starting out and you haven't seen that one yet, maybe watch it first and then come to this one. Also, a huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So in the previous video, we spoke about prioritizing making a body of work and also making sure that your work is something that you can really get behind. In this video, we're assuming that you already have a body of work to market, and we'll look into steps you can take to kickstart your career. The first and most basic thing you can do is to just find a local art gallery and get in contact with them. You can show them your work and ask them if there's any group shows that you might be able to take part in. Taking part in group shows is a really great first step. You don't need a lot of work to start taking part in your local art scene, and you can get acquainted with more galleries in a shorter space of time. With a bit of luck, a gallery might want to even sign you to an exclusivity contract. These can be a little bit tricky, and whether or not to take that deal depends on you and your situation. But just a little bit of advice going into something like this: try not to sign a deal that extends too long into the future. Approaching a gallery can be extremely daunting, so thankfully there are loads of other options just to help you get a bit more exposure and increase the chances of maybe a gallery approaching you first. A great way to do this is to enter competitions. Enter as many as you can. You don't need a gallery to know you to enter one, and you don't need to cold call anyone to get into one either. Also, often galleries are paying attention to these kinds of competitions to try and find new undiscovered talent. You don't even need to win or come in the top 10 to potentially be noticed. Keep in mind that galleries and artists have a symbiotic relationship. They're looking for you just as much as you're looking for them. Another avenue to consider is to take part in charity art auctions. They're a great way of getting exposure and are often more willing to show new artists. Sure, it can be really difficult to let your work go for free, but this is an important gamble to consider. It's hard to put a price tag on exposure, but taking risks like this can really help you get that lucky break or put you in touch with a potential collector. This ties into another difficult and really important strategy to navigate, and that's pricing your work. In the beginning, you just need to be okay with selling your work for reduced prices. This can be so painful and so difficult, especially when you put in so much hard work only for it to collect a fraction of what you know it's worth. A strategy my aunt actually shared with me is to try and price your work in a price range that your friends can afford. This gives them the opportunity to support you and collect your work. As you all get older and your peers start to earn more, the price of your work can organically grow with them. Something I think I should mention that some artists might need to be careful of, and maybe this is a little bit more on the philosophical side of things, but it's this notion that art is this pure form of expression or inspiration that isn't created with any kind of prospect of capital gain, or that it's somehow corrupt when you put a price tag on something that's supposed to come from a sacred place. While I'd love to subscribe to these ideals, I just don't think that they serve artists very well. Some of your work might be completely inspired, and that's great, but a lot of the time you'll need to be practical about it. Sometimes you'll have to produce work just to make a living. To help artists make a living, I am really happy to promote this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Their support goes a long way to help sustain this channel, but more importantly, they're a company I'm really happy to promote, because I really feel they can help other artists and creatives looking to pursue a career in their field. It's so important to have an online portfolio to help clients find you, and to have a platform to make it easy for them to get in touch with you, and I felt that Squarespace did this effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them or set up an online store, and most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try, and if you decide that you love it, use this offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. In the beginning, you'll need to take every opportunity, and commission work is often a saving grace for so many artists. It's definitely a mark of success and something to be celebrated. I just want to shed some light on something that I personally feel about commission work, and that is that it can be a little bit of a trap for some artists. My reasoning is because I feel that all the time spent on producing commission work isn't time necessarily being spent on developing your portfolio and finding your voice as an artist. I'd recommend weighing up the risks. Consider maybe delaying some of your commission work and using that time to build up your portfolio. Doing this, I think, will help you transition to producing your own work exclusively a little bit sooner. Craft markets are another option to consider. You can get some decent exposure and get some experience with how to price your work. Also, they're not as sensitive as art galleries, so it will definitely be a lot easier to start selling your work at one of these in the beginning. They're also pretty sustainable. There are a lot of artists who make a decent living from craft markets alone, but in my opinion, they do have a fairly low ceiling in terms of growth. So I'd encourage you to just use this as a stepping stone and to try and get into a more exclusive space as soon as possible. These kinds of markets also go hand in hand with art societies. If you can find a local art society and get involved with an art community, that'll always be a huge benefit. They're a great way of doing some networking, and like I said in the previous video, just undeniably important in creating those potential lucky break opportunities. The last thing I want to talk about is presentation. This is extremely important, but quite often gets overlooked, especially by artists just starting out. Money is bound to be tight in the beginning, and it can be difficult to justify spending loads of cash on framing and presentation when there's no guarantee of that money coming back. But this is something that will directly impact the marketing of your work. While you might be able to sell one or two of your works that aren't framed, having your work displayed badly is setting yourself up for failure. The majority of collectors will need some help in seeing how good your work could look on their walls. If you want collectors to take you seriously, you need to take your own work seriously first. It's a tough one, but try and see the value in investing in yourself. I hope you found this video helpful. Leave a like if you did. It really helps the channel out in a huge way. And let me know in the comments if you have any advice for other artists starting out with their careers, and also just what you'd like me to talk about in the next one. As always, thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.